So James, Alex, why don't we start off by telling us how did you get in the IT industry? So James, please kick this off for us.
It was totally by accident. I was working for a little company, kind of a subset of Bally Gaming, if anybody knows who they are, writing software for automated fruit machines, and I specialized in automated roulette machines, and it was quite easy. It was only monitoring, receiving data over TCP/IP and writing it to a database. I decided I wanted to change, so I moved into contracting, and the first contract I took was to help a small hospital receive data from a larger nearby hospital. And so I had to write that. It was in VB, and it was in right into a database. But the larger hospital was having problems sending the data to the smaller hospital. So I went to see them to try and find out what the problem was, thinking they were writing it in C or VB or something. And it turned out they were using this product called Rhapsody. And they didn't have any experience with it. So we talked to them and said, can I have a look and give you a hand? And because I knew how TCP/IP worked, I said, well, you've obviously got this setting wrong and this setting wrong, change it really quickly. Rhapsody 2.3, very easy. And it just worked like that. And they said, wow, you've got Rhapsody experience. And I said, no, it's just really easy. But they didn't have any experience with moving data the way that they needed to move it. So they then said, okay, do you mind, like, what you're doing after the contract that you've got now with that, the smaller hospital? And I said, I'm not really doing anything after that. And they said, do you want to come work for us for a couple of months to help them do a little bit more in Rhapsody? I did. I stayed with them for 18 months, and we rewrote the entire integration side of things with Rhapsody. That was really good. At the end of that contract, I then moved and took on another contract in integration at a different hospital, but it was with eGate and Monk. And I lasted 3 weeks, a month. The integration engine was terrible. I couldn't get on with it. I didn't understand it. It was complicated. And because I'd seen Rhapsody, I said, no, I can't deal with this software. Funnily enough, that company actually, when I came to work for Rhapsody, they did actually switch from eGate and Monk to Rhapsody. But luckily for me, what happened after that was I got hired by another hospital contracting, working myself in Rhapsody, and I helped them do a huge migration again. And at the end of that, I think that Rhapsody were kind of annoyed with me taking all their billable work from them. So they decided to hire me so I could work for Rhapsody, doing Rhapsody work all over EMEA. So yeah, that's pretty much how I fell into it.
And the rest is history.
Yeah. 12 years later, here I am still.
Alex, how about you? How did you get into the IT industry?
Well, I got into the IT industry because I had a bachelor's of science in computer science, but when the tech bubble burst, I couldn't find a job, and I was looking around, and I finally got a support job at an integration company, but it was not for healthcare. It was for financial institutions, banks, and their ATMs, et cetera, et cetera. So I was there for about 2 or 3 years before they got bought out by a competitor. And as I was waiting around to figure out my fate, some of my ex-coworkers had already moved on to a company called NeoTool. And they suggested I walk up 2 flights of stairs in the same building and ask for an interview. And I knew a lot about interfacing, but I knew nothing about healthcare, and they were more than willing to teach me and help me learn the workflow of what it's like to be doing healthcare data instead of financial data. And I've been here from NeoTool to Corepoint Health to Lineate.
Awesome. So I think you both alluded to how long you've been with the company, but if you could maybe describe your role, your title, and explain what you both do in that role. So Alex, why don't you continue on with that?
Yeah, sure. I joined the company in August of 2006, so it's been 14 years. I worked my way from support to training, which I still do to a point, and up to professional services. And I'm still in professional services right now. So my title is team lead of professional services in North America. And so primarily what I do is we assist customers in any way possible, whether it be remote or on-site, We help train them, we teach them how to use the product, and we help them with their first few interfaces, get them running, do their entire interface, all their interfaces if they need to, or convert from a previous engine. So those are just a couple of things that we do.
Great. James, how about you? How long you been with the organization, and describe your role for us, Untitled.
I mean, I'd like to say same again, pretty much. Unfortunately, Alex beats me by 2 years. So I only started in 2008, July 2008. But yeah, I do very much a similar thing that he does. So my official title is Senior Implementation Consultant, specializing in Rhapsody. And I help new customers or potential customers understand how Rhapsody can help them, as well as helping current customers get the most out of their engine. I do training, very similar to Alex does. Yeah, and just basically helping the product, either helping the customer with learning how to use Rhapsody and write it themselves, or writing it for them. Ditto, I guess, is the phrase.
So I'm going to make a bold claim that since you've both been with us for more than a decade, that you don't hate your jobs. So instead, why don't you tell us, what do you like most about your role? Alex, kick us off.
Yeah, so what I appreciate most about my role, and I've talked to James about this several times, is this idea of when we talk to customers and they have a certain idea of what they want out of the product or what they need out of this project, we accomplish that, and we do it in record time, easier than they thought it would be. And then we add on to it. And so instead of just passing messages from one place to the other, we give them the idea that, well, we can put this through a database and we can show you logs of what's happening, or we can show you some notifications if something goes wrong. And there's a light bulb moment that comes on. The light bulb comes on and they realize, wait, so I can do more than just pass messages through, and that's what I wanted, but this can make my life significantly easier. I don't have to go checking for something. It will come to me. And so this light bulb moment, whether it be doing things that are just a little bit outside of the project, just so they know and understand that the engine can do so much more, that gives them that gives them a really happy feeling that they can do and accomplish so much more, and that makes us pretty happy too.
How about you, James?
Very similar vein, really. The customers come to you with a certain problem, and they want you to build a certain functionality, and we can do that. That's not a problem whatsoever. When you start adding new business logic and you start giving value added resources, they realize that it goes from being just a workhorse to something that can innovate and help them move forward with certain things. We have certain triggers, so lots of different things, from triggering alerts if a cancer patient's come into A&E to make sure that their specialist is made aware and they can bring the drugs onto the ward, and then they'll spend less time in hospital. There's hundreds and hundreds of different things that we can do that the customer may not have thought of. And as I say, they go from thinking of it as a workhorse, as something that just sits in the background and does donkey work, to something that's actually quite clever, and you can add business rules and business logic and help the business in the long term.